Alright, let's have a look at the Glue 2 and the model versus the analog hardware that I've based it on. I soldered this circuit together so I could measure all the resistor values and capacitors to speed up the modeling process, and that definitely helped. There's still quite a lot of different things to fit in terms of little offsets and semiconductor parameters, but I've done a pretty good job, and now I'm confident that if I built another one of these units, ordered one in with all different resistors and components, then it would be more different than my model is to this at the moment. So let's have a look. We'll start with a sine wave compressor test signal. So you can see the attack shape coming down here, and then the release shape. And now in here are two signals. There's a yellow one, which is the model, and a blue one, which is the analog hardware. So let's have a, I can offset that so you can see it a little bit more clearly. So there we go. There's one, there's the yellow signal and the blue signal separated, and I'll put them back together. We have a few different signals that we can cycle through as well. So here is a dance track. There's a loud snare, which is a good one actually to really push the compressor and look at the transient response. We can zoom in and out on the signal here, so I'm just zooming in a bit so you can have a look. And a mix of a track with quite loud already, just to have a look how that looks. There. So as you can see, it's matching very well, but let's start changing some of the settings. We are currently on a ratio of 2 and quite a slow attack and release. Let's zoom out a bit again. All right, let's change the release time. So it's 1.25 now, that is the next one in. I think it's 0.6. There we go. And let's go one more in. Most of the testing's better off done at the faster release time because it's pushing the compressor harder. The release is fairly easy to model, so it doesn't really tell us too much. There's 0.3. And you can see that curve there rising more quickly. And let's leave it at 0.1 now for the rest of the time. There we go. Okay, we're clipping off the top there, so let's change the, I'll zoom out so you can see that that's still all matching. Let's zoom in and make that a little bit faster attack. Nope, wrong one, 10 milliseconds. So there you can see it matching. Let's zoom into that. And we can go through a few of the other test signals just so you can see the doof song, loud snare. And the dense mix. Let's step it up a little harder, go for ratio of 4. And faster attack. Now at 3 milliseconds, and go through the different signals. So you can see it's matching really well. Let's go faster in the attack again. There we go. You can see it changes quite a lot there. Attack, we're at 1 millisecond now. Go faster again. Point 0.3 and 0.1. Alright, you can see it's all matching really well. Let's try a few different test signals, swap between them. Right, that's probably not triggering. There we go. Let's trigger on that bit up there. There we go. And flip over to this one. Alright, let's crank up the ratio now to 10 and just leave it on those really fast settings for the rest. So let's now start having a look around different parts of the circuit. So that's the output, which was on, where are we? This is the full circuit being modeled. You have the main signal path, then the input gets sent here to the side chain and gets processed by this VCA. This is the ratio shaper, which then outputs here to the twin envelope follower. On the hardware, there's only just the one because it's fully linked, but on the Glue 2, we can unlink it and have dual mono. And then some further processing, adding in the threshold and the makeup, and then those signals get sent to the main VCA and the sidechain VCA. And in here as well, we've got in the ratio shaper section, we've got an absolute value. So this flips the signal, and then they both get summed, and then the ratio shaper is this section here, and then this little diode with a voltage offset is the range knob, which I'll show you in a little bit. But let's have a look at, first of all, the envelope follower signal. So for this, if I have to switch the probe so it's not going to drain the capacitor out quite as much. Otherwise we're loading the circuit and we get a different result. So I've switched it to 10 mega ohms now. I will change the probe setting here. Switch off the trigger so we can see where we're at. Alright, so there is, at the bottom, the envelope follower signal. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay. And let's have a look at a more basic signal so we can see what's happening. The envelope follower will be upside down from what you expect, just because that's how this circuit is engineered. But let's have a look at that sine wave easy test signal. There, so you can see, let's get a trigger. And zoom out one more. All right, there we go. So you can see that's the release, and then it compresses the signal, holds it at that level, and then releases, and then holds it at the new level, and then releases all the way. So let's increase the attack time so we can see that a bit better. So you can see there's the attack, that curve there. So do we have one more? Has that gone off the end of the knob? No, there we go. That's 30 milliseconds. And let's switch this to 30. All right, so you can see it's kind of slow like that. And now, so that's the compressed signal still, but let's now switch that over to so that the model is also showing the envelope follower signal, which is from here, this signal here, V74. So inside, I've compiled the compressor into VCV Rack because it's a great test environment, and I can send signals out easily to monitor different things. So let's go 74. All right, so there's the, well, again, you can't really see it. Let's just offset that voltage a little bit. 0.05. There, so there's the yellow popping out from under the blue, but I'll just put that back again. All right, so if we, you can see what happens to the envelope follower signal here when we change things. So we can make it a slower attack. I'll just leave the yellow one. I suppose I should match it. So that's a slower release, sorry. And then we can match that here. Now you can see the blue is draining a little bit more quickly than the yellow, and that is because the probe itself is draining away current from the capacitor. So it won't. It's kind of hard sometimes when you're monitoring things because you change them when you measure them. But for faster release times, it will definitely be, because then the probe is less of an influence in how fast it's draining away, then it'll be more accurate. But if we didn't have the probe, it would be matching properly. So that's release time there. So 0.6, there should be barely any difference there, and then a bit faster again, and then the release resistor will be dominating those terms, so it won't be a problem. Let's go, so 0.3. There we go. So let's just go all the way back to 0.1. And have a look at some more complicated signals. So this is with 30 millisecond, 10, ratio 10. Let's have a look at the Doof song. I think we might be, yeah. Oh, there we go. Loud snare. And the heavy mix, the dense mix. Okay, now let's have a look at the faster attack. Changed it by 2, so let's change it to 3 milliseconds. And have a look at the other samples again. There we go. Let's have a look at the Doof. And the sine, which is that kind of easy case. Let's go faster on the attack. Let's just go all the way to the fastest. Going back through the other samples. Just quickly. All right, now let's have a look into the ratio shaper and have a look at what the range knob is actually doing as well. So that's the best way to do that is so I'll switch this back to 1 mega ohm so we can have a bit less noise when we're looking at the next signals. And let's grab this and put it on the absolute value section in the ratio shaper. Switch the probe back to 1 mega ohm. All right, so that's the ratio. Let's go to a simple signal for this. It's the sine wave. Okay, so then zoom in. There we go. And then I'll get the, so you can see that that's being flipped. I'll get the output. I suppose we should match that first. Let's have a look at the, so we'll switch off the compressor and have a look at the resistor 58. So that is here. So that's V43 on my model, resistor 58 here, and that's the output of the sidechain VCA. So let's have a look at that. 43. And okay, and then I have to stop compressing on my model. There we go. And let's just zoom out and trigger on the loud a bit and zoom out again. All right, so there's the test signal. And then, so I'll zoom in now and have a look at the ratio shaper. So as you can see, it's flipped the signal. This is the absolute value section. So what it does is it flips the signal upside down, clips off one side, and then adds it back to the original signal, so that then you get only you get an absolute value calculated, and then it goes through the ratio shaper. And I can show you here as well. So let's go back to the output of the VCA. So when you're adjusting the threshold, what happens is you're increasing the amplitude going into the ratio shaper. So I will decrease the threshold, and you can see the blue signal going down as we're turning down the volume. Go down a long way. So as you can see, it gets quite loud. Let's zoom right down in here. There we go, that's the signal. And then let's change the threshold all the way here as well. Oop. Now we're down at 200 millivolts. A really small signal. All right, so let's turn that threshold back up. Let's go about halfway. There we go, that's roughly matched. And have a look at that absolute value circuit again. Right, so that goes, signal is going here. This is the where it flips it and then adds it back and then does the ratio shaper. So we'll look at voltage 53. Just adjust that threshold a little bit. So as we increase the threshold, that signal amplitude changes. And then let's have a look at the actual ratio shaper section. So that's voltage 63 here. All right. And change the actual probe over. That one, there we go. Zoom out a little bit. Oh, might have to back off that threshold. Yeah, there we go. So as you change the threshold, there we go. That's just triggering now. Let's change the threshold on the software to roughly match it. So you can see there's quite a few asymmetries in the circuit. The peaks here aren't, one of them goes a bit bigger than the other, and that gives you some second order harmonics in the actual results, which sounds good because circuits aren't totally accurate. So there we go. That's that. We can that's on ratio 10, which is quite steep. When we change the ratio, that's ratio 4, which is a little less steep. Change it there. There we go. You can see it match. And then ratio 2. And this offsets the threshold a little bit as well, so it keeps compressing. So you can more easily compare the signals when you change the ratios, but there it is all matching. But what I want to show you here is when we make that a bit louder. Oh, here you can see a double knee on the ratio 2. It's a bit steeper at the start and then becomes less steep, and that's just part of the sound of this compressor as well. So let's change the threshold to match. Oh, too far. Okay, that'll do. Let's switch back to ratio 10. And yes, show you what happens in here. You can see on the blue signal, it's clipping. And that's because the voltage rails of the op amp, that's as far as it can go, as it's really amplifying that signal, and then it gets clipped. And I have to change to match. I've only got, that's at 15 plus or minus 15 volts. My sound card only outputs 10 volts, so let me work around that issue by lowering the gain by half and then zooming in on the oscilloscope by double. There we go. And now they're clipping at the same point. So what is happening here is when it's a loud signal, it's going to clip off the peaks, and then the envelope follower won't attack on that part, which kind of opens up the sound, and it's part of the tone of analog compressors. But in this one, it's fixed at 16 volts, but in software we can change it to whatever we want. So what I've done is in this, just to match, to show you that is at plus or minus 16 volts, but the range knob is still active, which I can reduce that clipping point. So let's get voltage 64 to have a look at. And then as I change the range knob, then I'll be able to adjust the point that that clipping occurs at. So you can see that happening here. Now, this is without the compressor in action, but let's have a look at when we do put it in action, and we'll turn the attack to, there we go, that was, it's just before clipping here, so let's have a look at that. That is, let's push the threshold all the way as well. Now you can see the blue signal clipping. Let's change the attack on the model. Is it about 1 millisecond? I have to engage the compressor. Okay, so you can see it's it actually clips the signal off around here with an attack of 1 millisecond. I think about 0.3, and it doesn't quite do it. Yeah, there we go. But anytime you're compressing heavily, and there is a risk that that'll happen. So where are we? That's easily clipping here with a ratio of 10. And now let's back that off to a less steep ratio. It's still actually clipping there with a ratio of 4. This is why on a lot of the modern versions, they have higher voltage rails to have more headroom here in the sidechain. But again, in software, we can just change that number. It's whatever voltage we want. There we go. Back to ratio of 4. All right, let's have a look at some more complicated signals there as well. So yeah, this is the signal being sent to the envelope follower. So this is actually what generates the envelope. Okay, and let's jump back to the output. And change these gains back so that the same zoom can be applied to both. And now it's voltage 14 for the regular output. And we can zoom in again. Alright, let's focus on the loud snare for a bit, and I'll change some of the release times as well on that, so we can have a look at this. So let's go ratio 2. And let's go slower release times. And let's go ratio 10. One more, the slowest release time. And let's back off the attack time now to, let's go 10 milliseconds. Let's have a look. There we go. Zoom in, let's have a zoom in here. So as you can see, it's an excellent match. It's very close. Alright, well that is about it, I think, for this video, to show everybody how close the match is. And I look forward to getting on with the rest of the software and getting this release out so everyone can have a go with it and use it in their productions.